Midge, this studio that you've got out here in the garden, it's a relatively small facility in what looks like a prefabricated office building. Is this where you're doing all your writing and composing, or what kind of work are you doing here?
Well, I'm doing everything here, actually. I've only had it for a couple of years now. I've built a variety of studios in the past. My first proper studio was a separate building in the bottom of the garden, which I had, separate rooms and floating rooms, rooms within rooms, and had the same guy who designed the acoustics for Mayfair Studios up in Primrose Hill, where I used to work a lot. And of course, when you move on from there, nobody buys it as a studio. The person who bought it said, "Oh, what a fantastic place! I'm a potter." I thought, what a soundproof pottery, I hope you never get locked in. And then I moved on and I built another room. This time things had developed, and I came up with the whole concept of just the one room, one huge control room, which I built underneath a big 6-car garage that I had in Chiswick. And I had the desk, a little Harrison desk, which my engineer would sit at, and behind that a massive console built for my little Atari sequencer, my little Atari
1040 or something.
That's it, 1040 exactly, and all my keyboards and things, and a patch bay, and it was all tied through to the desk, so that when I had something that I thought was interesting or ready to commit to tape, which is real recording, I just tell Rick, my engineer, and he would record it through. And again, when I moved on from there, the guy who bought the house came in and said, "What a great place for the train set." And I thought, oh, again, I had a £25,000, soundproofed air conditioning unit above, because obviously in London you get planes coming overhead all the time. So when I moved west, when I moved down into the Bath area, I vowed never to do the same thing again. And it seemed to me that when we moved here, rather than having a facility in the house, because as any musician will know, that sitting listening to a drum pattern over and over and over again while you tweak the hi-hat.
It drives your wife mad.
No, it might be really interesting to you, but the family just go bananas. So I was relegated to the bottom of the garden, and I found this company who built these prefab insulated double glazed K-glass office buildings. But I never got round to doing anything about the acoustics in it, because most of the stuff, 90% of the stuff I was doing in here was all computer based, so it was all internal. It didn't really matter. I'd never mixed anything here. It was only when I started sticking a microphone up, I realised it sounded like, Glasgow's Central Station. So
the plan now is to compose in here, to mix in here, and to record just vocals or maybe some acoustic guitar or something.
I think, possibly mixing in here, because everything's changed. The technology has changed so much. Hence having a little room this size. I'm a one-man operation. Maybe 2 people at the most might sit in here. Other than that, it's me and my little glorified workshop. And I will create masters, not as in masterpieces, but master recordings here. Because I've always advocated that, with a computer, when you started being able to record on a computer, the technical quality is not that much different from what you'd get in a studio that costs £1,500 a day. And it's a lovely facility to have the ability to spend as long or as short as you want tweaking and twiddling and recording, as long as you know when the cut-off point is, when to stop and when it's finished.
Okay. So the plan today is to put up some basic trapping just to try and tame some of this resonance that we've got in here. I think the bass end won't be too much of a problem, because a lot of it will go straight through a lightweight structure like this, but we have got some bass trapping in place for the back wall.
Well, as you can hear, there's a lot of reflections in here. We have I don't know what it's made of, it's probably metal or plastic roofing up there, which just sends everything straight back at you. There's a lot of glass. 2 walls in this building are glass. So everything's just going to fire all over the place. So anything that can be done that will help soak that up, so that I can just stick a microphone up. I mean, we talked prior to coming here today about where to do vocals, and in technical terms, that's absolutely right. I should have a little vocal area that's deadened, but in reality, I drag the microphone over to where I'm standing in front of the screen. I like to see the screen. I like to be able to operate the stuff, and I just record what's there. So anything that could have helps me be able to do that is going to be a major
Okay.
boost for me.
Well, some lightweight absorbers in the ceiling should be okay without putting too much stress on the structure. And a couple of free hanging ones on the wall that you can take down when you want. I think we'll get 90% of the way there, which is probably as far as you need to go. And maybe we can then look at resighting your sub, because if it's not in the optimum place, you're going to find that your bass notes are not even in level.
I see. Now that's where my technical ability falls to the ground. I thought a sub could be, you know, omnidirectional. It could be anywhere. You could stick it, you know, under a sofa or whatever. And maybe that's true of you know, surround sound tellies or whatever. Maybe not in the studios.
Well, the reflections from the walls interact with the direct sound, so you get peaks and troughs in different places. And the trick is finding the space that gives you the least hassle in that area. Okay, so we'll make a start by putting some battens up on the back wall. Put 3 of these traps, which I built at home because we hadn't really got time to do it today.
The ones you prepared earlier?
I prepared early, but it's just straightforward slabs of rock wool, some matching fabric over the top, and a piece of barrier mat at the back to act as a bit of a base absorber.
Which I'd never seen before.
Which you hadn't seen before. And they'll be spaced 2 or 3 inches away from the wall, so they should be quite effective.
Great.
These are the homemade wooden traps that we've made. It's got standard high density rock wool on the inside. It's got fabric on the front. And on the back, we've got this very heavy, very limp barrier mat, which is going to hang down like a curtain and hopefully absorb some of the low end.
Unless we go under and wedge it up. But I mean, it'll pull in tight.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. Is that level? Too
It's
high.
straight, which is the main thing.
That's it. Not any more than that.
That'll be fine. And for this side, I'll start with the short length. So these are the traps we made. The front's actually covered in a fabric which is a cheap unbleached cotton dust sheet because it was the right colour match, acoustically transparent. We have the rock wool slab in the back, barrier mat hanging freely behind, and a couple of mirror plates to hold the whole thing up. So it's not really rocket science. It's all right, we can tighten it up once it's in place. Oh, look at that. It looks just like real people did it.
Spirit level?
Well, let's get that,
Get it
not
straight
spirit
back
level,
to
get
it.
it parallel with the side is the main thing. And I think that is. Can we take a vote on whether that's parallel?
It needs to come down this end.
Okay.
Yeah, a bit more.
Right. So what we need to do is to angle it until that just touches the tape measure. There, that's it. Stop. Freeze.
That's good.
That look level like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's where it goes then.
This should make quite a difference. So this is the predictable part of the job just about done.
Yeah.
It's a scary bit next. So far then we've got up the 3 broadband traps that we've created for the front of the room. We've hung them on pieces of wooden batten which we've painted with Midge's touch-up paint so that it's all cosmetically attractive. So all that remains now is to give these things a bit of a haircut for where the threads are sticking out to the side. And I think that's done. So the next step is to get the ceiling and the side walls sorted out.
Making the traps to go up on the ceiling here. This is a standard rock wool slab. It's 1200 by 600, 30mm thick. And we're going to use some bags made by a company called Ready Traps, which is the fabric cloth bag goes over the top, and they're provided with these little corner pieces. But to make it easier to hang, we've cheated slightly by cutting these little wooden battens to run down the sides and across the back at top and bottom. And we're going to use those to screw in some eyelets and hang it on some strings.
That's the theory.
So the trick here to stop it all falling apart when you try and put it in the bag is to use the sellotape to hold it all together. He says, sticking his fingers together. It's only going across the to the top to hold it together, so it's not going to affect the acoustics. But it certainly makes it a lot easier to put together. There you go. So we've already done the other end, so the next thing is to put the bag on, and we found a handy little trick to make that easier is to use a bin liner.
The reason we do that is that the fibres from this rock wool tend to stick to the fabric, and it's really difficult to get off. I mean, you could dab it with gaffer tape, but it's best not to get it on there in the first place.
Bin liner, we've cut the bottom out of this, so it's basically just a big tube. Slide it down over the top, and because it's quite slippery, it actually makes the whole thing very, or relatively easy to slide on and off.
That's far enough to start with.
I'll go and get a bag.
Okay, it's one of the greeny coloured ones.
So this is a bag from Ready Traps. They come in a range of different colours: red, blues, white, black, brown, and we had these made specially for this job. So it's just a big sack.
It has hanging loops on the back.
Hanging loops on the back.
Which has got to be the same side that we have our wood on.
And there's a concealed zip, which is always a pain to find. There it is.
Because it's concealed.
Right. Where's the back? That's
the back. You've got it wrong already. Actually, let's just try pulling it straight down rather than wobbling it up, because it's going to be tight to get on.
Yeah, okay. You grab that side.
Yeah. And we'll just feed the thing on.
And if you pull the plastic bag down with it, it should all just kind of slide on.
This is a bit where we have to swear a little because the plastic bag is catching at the top.
There
we go.
You on there?
Yep, we're okay. Okay, so now all we've got to do is take out our plastic sleeve and then work this thing up to the top, pulling it seam straight as we go, and then zip her up.
There you go. One bag.
Yep.
So it's quite rigid with the wooden braces across the top and the bottom and the sides. It actually hangs like a very square, neat-looking thing, and it's not too heavy, which is an advantage in this application. Very quick and easy to do.
Yeah. It does have straps on the back for hanging on walls, which are quite handy, but if you hang from the ceiling using these straps, they pull out quite a long way and it doesn't look good. So we're just going to screw little metal eyelets into the corners, into the piece of wood that we put in there, hang from that.
Okay, we've got 3 of the panels up now. Trying to do the 4th out of 6. I think doing this on the hottest day of the year in the top of a building is not the brilliant idea we've ever had, but it is working, and it's working well. So, eyelets in the ceiling, some string, we've got loops on the back of the panels, we'll thread it through, tie them off, and then we're using tie wraps to pull the string in to tension it to get the height right. So, panel please.
Okay, so through one side first, then tie it off. Using your best sailor's knot.
My best sailor's knot.
Take a bit of slack off that. In fact, if you can hold it up, I can probably tension it.
Get the tie wrap on.
So the final part of the acoustic treatment is to hang up a couple of these rock wool panels in the mirror points, either side of the listening position, one on either wall. The best way of finding out what that point would be, if you don't know intuitively, is to sit in the chair, get a friend to hold up a mirror. If you can see the monitor in the mirrors, that's a place for the absorber. So we've finally got to the end of the soundproofing job in this heat. We've also moved your sub-bass speaker to give what we hope is a more even bass response, so it's actually slightly off-centre right at the back of the room.
And it's on the floor.
And it's on the floor, so it's not making the structure of your desk resonate. We've also managed to get those nice people at Auralix to give us some of their mopads, which act as speaker isolators and also angle adjusters. And because this desk is sloping down, it's enabled us to angle the speakers up slightly.
Oh, right, I hadn't even noticed that.
Yeah, because the tweeters should always be pointing roughly at your head, and as it was, these were on the bench pointing down and probably pointing at your navel somewhere. So,
well, you're not as small as me, so pointing at my ears.
So hopefully it'll work a lot better for you. And the room to me sounds drier anyway, more even.
I can hear it as soon as you walk in. Like we were saying earlier, you get that feeling without even, if you didn't look up, you walk in here, you know it's different, you know something's different. The ceiling feels closer or further away or whatever, but you're not getting that, that sense that you're in a shed.
Yeah. I think it's going to make a lot better mixes. So just need you to finish off some work and see how it all pans out in practice.
That's the tricky bit.
Yeah.
Me finishing something.
In this weather, it's so hard, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I liked it, especially when you asked about when the air conditioning unit was coming. And I said, well, rather than buying an air conditioning unit, I'll just choose not to work in hot days like this.
Good plan.
And in fact, that's what I did today. I sat back and watched you guys building up a sweat, making my life much easier. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
That was good.
So, finally, what's your verdict on the commercial viability of deep-fried hobnobs in Scotland? Do you think they'd work?
Well, I know there's some Italian families in Scotland who own some chip shops. I'll drop the word and just see. Do you want a percentage of it?
In terms of product to eat, yeah.
Well, I was thinking more like, they'll take the idea and you'll sleep with the fishes.
Yeah. What's the fish like?